think of your own stuff. You're so lucky, throw it in the bin and put it on the pavement. Okay, I'm taking it away from you. You're not going to have it for the next 6 months. What are you going to do? Will bioplastics solve that problem? Okay, I'll leave that question with you. We'll try and answer it maybe later. So how do we move from this visible villain lying on our beaches, lying next to our roads, lying on our pavements, to something that's going to save us? So what is the industry doing? And I'm sure you've read a lot about all these initiatives. The one initiative that's quite prominent in the media is the so-called South Africa Plastics Pact. WWF is driving that, and SAPRO. Together they're saying, sign up, give us some money, make a commitment. And those commitments says, we're going to phase out plastic that we think is not necessary. All our plastics is going to be either recyclable, compostable, or reusable by 2025. I didn't put the date there. That's in how many years? And we're going to use a certain amount of recycled plastic. Well, I think it sounds good, but it's all focusing around recycling. Then there's industry organizations, and we call them product responsibility organizations. And there's 4 of them looking at not so many plastics. So what are they predominantly doing? They encourage their producers, because they represent the people making the plastic products, to say, are you sure this product will not end up on landfill or in the environment? Then together with SAPRO, that's actually recycling it, they say, we're talking about recycling. So you have the pact, and you have all these organizations saying recycling is going to save the world. Together with Plastics SA, I'm not so sure that we can actually recycle our way out of this problem. It will help, and we definitely need to do more of that, but I don't believe it's the only solution. We spoke about the Umgeni River right at the top there. Plastics SA have identified 4 problematic rivers in South Africa. One is the Sabi, and sometimes I think it's just because the Oaks like to go to the Kruger Park, but if you look at Hazyview and that whole area, again, a huge informal population living next to a river where there's absolutely no services. Then you have the Swartkops River in Port Elizabeth. Umgeni has 4.4 million. I believe the Swartkops River is just over 5 million people. Very, very basic income below the breadline, people living next to that river. And then you have the Black River system in Cape Town. And they're saying, let's have a package of things. How do we talk to these people? We can't say to them, put your stuff in the bin, because they don't have a bin. So how do you tell them about just basic hygiene and waste? And how do you start creating little initiatives to say, let's start make money out of this and turn it into products that will benefit your community? And it's not so simple. There's many partners obviously helping Plastics SA. They definitely don't do it by themselves. So yeah, you have the PROs, you have the PACT, you have Plastics SA, and we still see that every day, all the day. So what can we do? So let's just talk a little bit about recycling, seeing that the organizer said to me, you're actually supposed to talk about recycling. So what is recycling? What's happening in South Africa? So maybe I should ask you again, what do you understand by recycling? And sorry, this is a woman's joke. So I'm not quite meaning that. So when I asked you earlier on, do you recycle at home? I think most of you was thinking about that bin behind your door or in the garage, or what are you doing there? And the on-pack labeling is becoming very prominent, and we're saying, what is it telling us? And then you just look at 2 package and you're totally confused. I mean, the one says plastic bags can be recycled, the other one says it can't. So what do I do with it? And where do I go? And the poor consumers, they really don't know. So what is really happening? And I'm coming from the point where I visit these recyclers once a year to get their stats, to see what's the trucks are offloading, and to see what's happening in their factories, and to see what's going out. So I'm not talking what I've seen on Facebook or on social media, or these tweets that you receive in the morning on Google or News 24 that says plastics recycling has never happened. Do you get those? I mean, daily. It's a farce. It have never happened. We must stop doing it. It's not worth doing it. I'm talking from what is happening in South Africa currently here now. So last year, 2018, we recycled 352,000 tons of plastics back into raw material. It's not what we collected from the bins. It's the plastic that leaves the factories. To that, you can add roughly 20% of sand and labor and froth milk and everything else that arrives with that product at the recycler. 2% was exported to be recycled elsewhere. In other words, baled, put on a truck, put in a ship, and going to India and China. And China is becoming very fussy of what they buy. So the stuff exported is like our prime materials. So if we take what was available in the waste stream, 46% was actually collected. So Sudhakar, I don't know where you get that 90% of waste that ends up on landfill. For plastics, definitely not. It's much, much less than that in South Africa. So, yeah, this is the part that I don't like to show, so I'll make it small. We're still more than 1 million tons that's not recycled. Yes, and that's where the problem lies, and that's where the bioplastics options are, and that's where our previous speaker says we need to look at what are we doing there. So what did we recycle? So let me ask, sorry, were you taking your picture? Did you get it? Who was taking? Are you happy? Are you quick? What's the plastics most recycled in South Africa? PET. Who else is PET? Okay, they're doing a good marketing, eh? It's not. It's those thin plastic bags. Tonnage-wise, we've recycled 119,000 tons. How much is that? I don't know, it's a hell of a lot. 119,000 tons plastic bags in 2018. That's the shopping bag. That's the bag that's around your tastic rice. That's the bag that's around your six-pack. That's the bag that's around your toilet paper. That's the bag that's around your, I don't know, your shirt you bought. It's the most recycled. Yes, PET is very well recycled, but only 74,000 tons. A PET bottle, a 2-liter weighs, I forgot the figure, I think it's 40 grams at the moment. And an Albany bread bag, 6 grams. So how many more Albany bread bags do we have to pick up to recycle for every Coke bottle? Okay. So I don't want any one of you saying again, you sitting here, that we do not recycle flexible plastic in South Africa. I 100% agree. In Europe, it does not get recycled because they use automatic sorting plants. They don't have people standing there and saying polyprop LD, HD, PP, LD. They have machines doing that, and the machine, when there's something in the bag, the machine can't see what it is. If it's a black bag, the machine says, I don't know, waste. In South Africa, we're saying if it's a black bag, it doesn't matter. You feel it, you know it's LD. So those pickers touch it, and they can tell you what plastic it is because they sound differently, LD, HD, PP. How many of you know plastics? I'm assuming you all understand these acronyms and abbreviations. Okay, they're different plastics. So on the LDPE side, we're talking film and those flimsy little things. I drive my family absolutely nuts because I buy from the butcher lots of meat, and I say make it up in chops of 444. I get home, I pull out my Glad bags from the bottom drawer, stuff it in there, and goes into the freezer. So when I've defrosted our 4 little choppies, no, I haven't eaten choppies for a long time. My 4 little pieces of chicken, because can you afford choppies? So we defrost the choppies. That bag lies next to the zinc, and when my dishwasher, very handsome frick, after lunch, after supper, he's doing the dishes. The last part of this is, he says, now it's your part. I rinse my bags, I rinse the bottles, all in that same dirty water, leave it on the drying rack. Tomorrow morning, all of that goes into my recycling bin. Does it say recycle or not recycle? I really don't care, because if we don't get it to the recycle, it will never get recycled. Then your PET bottles, the only thing in PET that gets recycled is beverage bottles. Not your cooking oil, not your sunlight liquid, not your shampoo, not that small little bottle that you get at the hotel that says, what is this, a conditioning shampoo? I don't know where they get it from, but it definitely doesn't condition and doesn't clean my hair either. Then you have HD, which is milk bottles. We've just done a study only on milk bottles. The milk bottle recycling rate in South Africa is sitting at between 80 and 85%. Of every milk bottle made in South Africa gets collected and turned into a new, not a milk bottle, but a new plastic product. Then the polyprop, they've seen huge growth in the last year. Because suddenly woven polyprop film, there's a number of recyclers that says, no problem, bring us your chocolate wrappers, we'll happily recycle that. Okay, where does it come from? 70% of everything we recycle is post-consumer. It's not coming out of mine, your factories, it's coming out of mine, your bins. So what does it mean in reality? This is from a small recycler in Brits. Normal stream coming in. I just say, hey, stop, let me take a picture. So what do you see there? It's a film recycler. Lots of carrier bags where people tell you it's not recycled. Lots of black bags. And what you don't see is the hohos and the brommers and the smell. Because this comes out of your bin that was standing in your yard for a week and then compressed in a truck with the neighbor's dog poo and baby nappies. And that went to the landfill where someone says, oh, and he picked the bag and throw it in another bag and bring it back to the recycler. Why is Rudy doing it? Because he makes money. There is no subsidies, nowhere paid for the recycling waste stream in South Africa. And we need to say that, so is it viable? Yes, it's viable, because no single recycler will be doing it if he's not making money. Yes, we heard Impact Polymers have closed. Why? Because that factory didn't make money. But the other 3 PET plants is still happily recycling, because they had a different model, different technology. How much is 352,000 tons? A lot. So if we put it in a Boeing, and we bale it nicely as the recyclers board it, it will take me 32 days, every 15 minutes, to take off from our Tambo. Okay, this morning it's quiet because the oaks are all standing in the road. Or if I take milk bottles, that wonderful 2 liter, if you look in your fridge, 19 million of those bottles every day for a year. Okay, that's also too much. I don't understand that. If I take my Polo, I'm getting about 5 to 6 liters per 100 kilometers. It will take 200,000 Polos, diesel equivalent, for a year on Gauteng roads. I think that I understand, because every time I fill up my tank, it's 900 rand. So 200,000 of those cars, that's the equivalent of what we recycle. Okay, did it grow? Yes, it definitely grew in the last years. The blue is the part we send to China. The green is the part we're doing in South Africa. And we grow. So yes, all this effort, all this talk is taking off, but it's not plain sailing. It's not suddenly there's this huge market. Let's just stop for a moment and look at Europe, because I personally get a lot of these calls saying, but Europe is doing so fantastic. So how do we compare? Europe only have figures for 2016. We know the Plastics Europe people, so we say, hey, where's your 2017 stats? It doesn't look good. We're not publishing it. So I'm comparing a good year in Europe with last year in South Africa. In Europe, it's the right thing to do. You go to anywhere in Europe, you have 6 bins in the kitchen, you have a calendar. I've just spent time in Italy, and it's scaringly how well the people, I mean, they miss the bus as long as the bin is on the pavement, and it's the right color bin for this day, and it's accurate collection data. Europe can tell you exactly how much Durban solid waste, or pick it up, have collected, because they have a little barcode on every bin, If that truck lifted up, it says 4 kilos for this house. This house has 6 people. They only pay so much for their waste. We need to increase their fee. And the taxes that they pay is related to how much they put in their bins, because they have the stats. We went to visit their local pick it up offices, and there's the pin. They can show us where the trucks are. They press on that truck. They can tell us what that truck is busy collecting now. They press next to it, what is the house number? There's 6 people living in that house. They only put out 3 kilos of waste this week. It's there. Separation at source, it's the right thing to do. The bulk of it, up to 2016, were put on the boat and exported to India and China. What are we doing in South Africa? If it doesn't make money, we're not doing it. We have accurate recycling data, not collection data, because there's a trolley picker and there's Oak with a truck and there's everyone else bringing the stuff. But we know how much is leaving the recycler. And to be able to compare, we need to say, okay, how much did the recycler throw away? How much did he sort? And we're working backwards. 2% is exported to be recycled elsewhere, and that last one is really what we need to take note of. 64% of people living in South Africa has access to a bin. They may not necessarily put the bin on the pavement, but they have a bin or a bag or a service. Let's do it the other way around. 30% of 55 million doesn't have a bin. So what do they do with it? So if one take that whole value chain from my bin to the actual, over there, the recycler making raw material again, and I'm not an academic, so I'm not good with pictures, I'll just give you photographs. So we have the waste picker that's either collecting from my pavement or from the landfill. Now this picture was taken at the Selby landfill. I spent about 10 days with Isaac and Maria, those 2 people in the front there. I meet them at 7:30 in the mornings. We hitch a hike with a pick-it-up truck to the top of Selby landfill, and they start sorting. That's what I know about those bags. When they have these 7 bags, that was their target for the day, 7 of these bulk bags full of material, they say, okay, we're done. We have enough for the day. I said, well, it's 11 o'clock. Yeah, they said, no, it's fine. We hitch a ride back with an empty pick-it-up truck again to the bottom. And there's a buyer with a scale, and we put it on the scale, and they, on average, between the 2 of them, got about 150 to about 180 rand for the day. And they say, I'm happy. 3 hours work, horrible work, but they get more than my gardener. That must work from 8 till 5. So the collection side, that oak sitting with a scale at the bottom of the landfill, he's then buying the stuff from Isaac and Maria, and together with them, we say there's about 50,000 people. I'm not personally so hooked on this whole thing about jobs, because if it's bioplastics or biodegradable plastics or compostable plastics, I think the jobs will still be there. They will shift and they go somewhere else. So I'm not saying we're going to lose that, but we're going to lose a whole economy. We're going to lose that whole value chain, and that's what I'm fighting for. Now that's a recycler. It's a little bit bigger than Rudy and Brits doing plastic bags. That's an interlinked truck. It gets about 5 per day. A truck like that is between 32 and 33 tons of bags. So that was now picked up on the landfill, sold to that little oak with a bucky. He took it to another guy that sorted them again. You can see that we have smoky in the front, unprinted, and then mix and color at the back, which is printed and color and all the others. Different bales, and he said, bring them on. He breaks the bales open, do a bit more sorting, throw it in a granulator that chops it up. He then washes it, and you need to make sure he's washed water. And before the lady from agriculturals asked me that question, we do recycle that water again. So each of these recyclers have their own water treatment plants because they can't afford replacing that water all the time.